Hello everyone, welcome to the channel here at MeteoMark Weather. Great to have you here with me today. We're going to be looking at the possibility of probably the biggest warming trend we've seen across the east as we get into this next week. We're going to watch much of the region get into record-breaking warmth. Does this mean an end to winter? Do we have any prospects of winter heading out to the third and fourth week of March? Or are we destined to go straight into spring? And I'll also take you to the Caribbean, Central America, Western Atlantic, your tropical update to see if things are actually going to dry out for a change here. We've had an unprecedented winter with a lot of rainfall. Let's get into it. All right, so let's start off with the NAM 3-kilometer our future radar here. As we go into the overnight hours, you can see some snow shower action. Look at here on the northern edge of this disturbance out here in the plains. We're also getting some snow moving towards Chicago, Toledo area. This is going to be accumulating a couple inches as we get into northern Indiana, Ohio, as we get into Friday evening. Look at that Cleveland area getting into the snow, Toledo here, and that's going to spread across central Pennsylvania here as we get into a little bit of some rain shower action near Harrisburg. So the rain snow line, you might actually get some flakes here in Pittsburgh as well. And then look at this through Binghamton, Scranton area, Syracuse, Albany. We're going to see some snow showers kicking up here. And then look at here across the southeast. This is where things really start to congeal together here. We're starting to see this area of convection developing here. Heavy snow here, the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma. So you can see this moisture just feeding up along the Gulf Coast. That is where we're going to see plenty of shower and thunderstorm action moving to the north and to the east here. So we're going to watch out for that. If we just switch over to our composite here, yeah, you can actually see some of these stronger cells they're going to be developing over the next couple days here as we stretch through the 8th here into Saturday. There it is. Lots of shower and thunderstorm action. Would not be surprised if some of these become severe, so watch out. Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. All right, so let's take a look at wind speeds here on our NAM 3-kilometer. This is going to be the big story here in the parts of the Northeast. Look at this. So as we stretch through, especially Thursday night, late Thursday night into Friday morning, this is where we'll be looking at some of the heaviest winds, strongest wind gusts. Catskills, Poconos, even the valley locations getting up into the 35, 40 mile an hour range. And these reddish zones, this is where we're getting up towards 50 mile per hour gusts. So look at that. That is quite a bit in the way of wind action as you wake up on Friday morning. And look at this. This just continues to strengthen throughout the day on Friday. So those winds will continue to howl until about we get into, here it is, Saturday morning. So it's going to be a very windy time of it. Even over the weekend, look at that. Wind speeds still continuing to gust as high as 25 and 30 miles an hour. All right, so picking up where our future radar left off here as we continue through the middle part of the weekend and later. Yeah, we have the system across the southern plains and the southeast Gulf Coast area. We're going to continue to watch this. It's going to have some wet snow on the backside of it here, that northwest side, so we'll keep an eye on it here. But the big story is going to be these heavy rains that are going to be pinwheeling across the south and the east here. So watch out, very convective type in nature. We're going to go over those rainfall amounts momentarily. You could be getting up to 2 to 4 inches, some locally higher to 5 inches in some locations. Now watch what happens the 10th and the 11th. A whole lot of nothing. The only thing we have going on here is this cutoff low off the southeast coast, and that slowly heads out over the open Atlantic. Look at this. Through the 12th and 13th, we do have a little bit of a disturbance moving through parts of northern Ohio, central Pennsylvania, spark off a few mixed precipitation, scattered showers and snow showers. But for the most part, it doesn't look like it's going to be very much fanfare here into the 13th and the 14th. Look at this tropical moisture, though, trying to spin up off the Florida coast. That is kind of eerie. So, I mean, we're literally about 90 days here from hurricane season. So, if that's any indication of what things could be like, it could be another very interesting season. But here we go as we head through the 16th into the 17th. We got that cold front moving across the south and east here, even bringing a squall line potentially up here to Cleveland. You can see these heavier returns here on the 16th into the 17th. This may be our big air mass change, colder behind it, but will it last? That's the big question. We see rain snow line all the way up north of Ottawa here. So this is another one that's not really winter-like. We do try to get some development on the backside here. Not a lot of moisture to work with, though, but you do see some scattered snow showers as we head into the 18th. This is interesting, though, this feature, but it's pretty far out. So getting into these details of a heavy wet snowstorm on the backside, yeah, it's possible. We'll keep an eye on it here. You got to get the moisture to line up properly with the storm system and moisture, though. But look at this massive high. This looks like a big old blocking Bermuda high. And once again, we're seeing severe weather. It looks like convective lines all the way up through Indiana, Ohio, all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And once again, it looks like that rain snow line is way up into southeast Canada. All right, so looking at our European run here, just starting, from the beginning, we can see as we head through Friday here into Saturday, this system, a very light system moving across parts of the Mississippi and Ohio River valleys. Maybe some snow showers here across northern Ohio, western Pennsylvania as we get it overnight, Friday evening into early Saturday morning. Not too much accumulation. We'll get into those accumulation amounts momentarily. But the big story is going to be this surge of moisture here across the southern plains. Watch out. Some of these storms could, approach severe limits here as we get this baroclinic zone here from the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma down towards southeastern parts of Texas. That's going to spread to the east here Sunday. The big story definitely is going to be the heavy rains as well. So watch out for some severe weather here, as well as some heavy rains that pivot Sunday. Look it up here into parts of the Midwest and the Northeast Mid-Atlantic. Very, very nice weather. Sunshine building in, and that warmth will be building. Watch, though, later Sunday, the panhandle of Florida, southern Georgia. This is your time frame for some big-time storms and heavy rain. We're going to go over those rainfall amounts. You're going to be seeing quite a bit, 3 to 4, maybe 5 inches locally in some areas. That low pivots towards the east, looking very strangely almost subtropical. Very strange this time of year. Look at this, March 10th. And look at it. It kind of just hangs out off the coast here for a couple days, the 10th into the 11th, before pulling to the southeast, just northeast of the Bahamas here. High pressure building in. This is what's going to get that warming trend ensuing. And then we got our next system rounding the bend here Thursday the 13th into the 14th. You can see that's pushing thunderstorms all the way up into upstate New York here. It's going to be an interesting system. Look at out west, though. You got that massive trough. Snow levels lowering to even valley floor. So we're kind of flipping the tables here. Much warmer spring-like back east and back west. Very, very wintry and stormy. Now look at the 16th. This is where things really start to change. This looks like a massive severe weather outbreak. Could even see some strong to severe thunderstorms up here into eastern Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania. But watch what happens here. This storm kind of blows up here to the north and the east over central Canada, eastern Canada, and it drags this cold front. That's going to be the start of a cooling trend. You can see there's going to be some sort of squall line here right around the 17th. We won't get into actual details because it's so far out, but this could be quite a big squall line, severe weather event, wind event, whatever you want to call it here as we head through the 19th and 20th. Things get cooler across the east, but then you still see these Colorado lows. That's going to drag more warm air up to the north and to the east here. And liquid equivalent precipitation here through the weekend into early next week. You can see most of it's going to be across the southeast here. And then look at this. As we kick it through next week, later next week, we got a little bit of a system here into parts of the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic. And we're going to continue being more active out west here. Look at the west coast just getting hammered with mountain snow valley rain. Look at this, though. Right around the 17th, 18th, and through the 22nd here, this is where we're going to start to line up the storms back east. Some of these areas approaching 2.5 inches, close to 3 inches in these yellow zones. And here on our European run, pretty much lining up with our GFS. You can see Sunday, Monday, into Tuesday, that heavy rain. A little bit further south on the Euro, right across parts of northern Florida, up to 2 to 4 inch plus amounts. So pretty active down here with some tropical moisture. And then as we pivot towards right around there it is, 16th into the 17th, that's when we get that next big system here across the east. So let's take a look at snowfall here. It's not going to be the biggest story, but look at this. As we get Friday night into Saturday, we might see a couple inches here through parts of the Ohio Valley in the Northeast. Look at this. Yeah, right around 1 to 2 inches again. Toledo over to Cleveland, Akron area, northwestern Pennsylvania, these snow belt areas as well. And look at this. As we continue to go through time, there is no snow next week across the east. Look at it. It's all out west here. We have to get all the way to, look at that. That's all the way to the 22nd. And there's no additional snow. So let's look at the European run here. There's that snowfall as we had Friday evening into Saturday morning, right around Cleveland, Erie, Pennsylvania, 1 to potentially as much as 3 inches here. We'll keep an eye on it. Northern New England, Southeast Canada, obviously, quite a bit more snow here. The West Coast areas, inland to the Rockies, that's where all the snow is going to be. European all the way through the 21st shows no additional snow back east. So let's take a look at our upper air pattern here on our European models. We head through the weekend. We still have that troughiness in the Northeast. Still above average temperatures, though, despite that troughiness. Look at that's replaced with a ridge next week with that massive warming trend across the east. The West Coast gets this massive explosion of trough, so we turn the tables here. Back east, we'll get much more spring-like through the 15th here. Look at that firecracker ridge building. Will this change? Well, as we head towards the 17th and the 18th, we do get a trough moving through, but it's short-lived. So the firecracker ridge pretty much taking over for a majority of the east for much of March. And let's get ahead with the GFS model here. You can see as we head through next week, that ridge building across the east. Even through the 14th, 15th, look at this massive blocking ridge across the east here. That's just going to continue. We do get that massive trough moving through. Watch out. This would be the best chance for an East Coast snowstorm. So right around the 19th, we're going to watch it here, but it's very short-lived. So everything has to come together just right. Look at that. More warming trend for the 21st. There you have it. And our NAO index, this is kind of deceiving because we're about ready. We're about neutral. We're about ready to go negative. But where is those large-scale blocking and storms going on? This cold air, East Coast snowstorm action, it seems to be pretty much null and void. And let's take a good look at our MJO index here. So we're in about phase 1 here. We're going to be going into 2 and 3. So, as we stretch later into March, we're actually getting into quieter periods. That's why the NAO looks so big for whatever you want to call it, big East Coast snowstorm action and blockingness and cold air. And the MJO is saying, no, we're going to quieter times. It looks like the MJO on the models here is winning out. And I always like to show this too. Are we going to see any polar vortex collapse where we'll see a piece of it break off? Well, here we go. Let's take a look. Saturday, March 8th, we get a little bit here because you can see it's centered over parts of Europe. It's a weak attempt because look how quickly these warmer colors fill right in behind it here. Wednesday, March 12th, you can see most of North America being engulfed. Now look at this. We see this warmth pivoting. Yeah, we do have some cold air returns here across northeastern North America, but it's not much. And then we see that warm kicking to the south here March 20th. So do I really see any? It almost seems like the polar vortex by the 22nd of March is pretty much fizzled out. You can see it out here over northeastern North America. Yeah, that would tend to promote, cooler than average temperatures here, but it's at this point that cell is not very strong anymore. That would typically mean we would have pieces of it break off, but at this point, look at this. This does not look very impressive. And Robert Stone from the Jamestown, New York area, getting out some good old-fashioned charcoal grill here. Look at that. That looks spectacular. Going to cook up some meat. Some of his first, probably the first in his area to do such a thing. You can still see in the background here some snow and ice on the ground, but he's getting out there. We had some nice warming trend here. And there it is. Looking like some good, nice grilled meat here. You can't beat that. Making us all think of spring. That looks delicious, Robert. Hope you had a really good day. It looks like it was. There it is in the background there. Some snow on the ground. Enjoy. All right, so let's take a look at the tropics here. We're going to be looking at the next couple weeks here. So, we start out kind of dry here. We do have a little bit of a washed out frontal boundary to the north here through Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica. Only a few showers over the next couple days. Now, watch what happens as we head through the 9th, 10th. We get another cold front. There's a big area of low pressure here to the north, kind of cut off. It's kind of meandering south and east here. It will drag some sort of boundary down through Honduras, Cayman Islands, Jamaica here. Now watch what happens as we head through the 11th. That kind of sparks some shower action across Dominican Republic here, Haiti, Jamaica area. And you start to see these southeasterly trade winds really start to kick in here from the east. Now, this does look a bit interesting come March 15th. We're going to have to keep an eye on this area. It's looking very extratropical, kind of. Subtropical, I should say. That's very unusual. And I'll show you those sea surface temperatures momentarily. They are running very warm. That's actually going to draw up some tropical moisture here from Venezuela in these areas in northeastern South America. And that's going to propagate showers across the Lesser Antilles here as we head through the 17th and the 18th. Watch what happens, though. I am concerned about this cold front making it all the way down to Honduras here. That's going to spark off some very heavy rain right around the 18th here. Watch out. And that's actually going to spin south and eastward. This front may actually clear Jamaica. That's going to be a much different air mass here, hanging up across Haiti and the Dominican Republic here. And as we go through the 20th into the 21st, you kind of see things are quieting up. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our European model analysis here. Picking up, comparing to our GFS here. So, as we head through Friday into Saturday, you can see some scattered showers here across the north central part of the Caribbean. Over here in the Lesser Antilles, let's get that out of the way. Get our trusty pencil here. You can see across the Lesser Antilles, parts of northeastern Caribbean islands. That's where we're seeing those scattered showers with that tropical moisture. Now, as we head through Saturday into Sunday, you see some scattered showers from Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands. And then we start to get a little bit more moisture kicking in from the northwest here. So you see this frontal boundary. We got this big area of low pressure. That's going to move a big area of a cold front through the western Bahamas all the way down to Belize here. Look at this. Northern Honduras, Belize. That's where you're going to see some very heavy rain. Look at this tropical moisture to the north here. North of the Bahamas. That looks very menacing, but it's actually going to get some moisture here down into Haiti and eventually Dominican Republic right around Wednesday, the 12th of March into, look at that, Thursday. So that's going to bring some, heavier rains. Go over those rainfall amounts momentarily. We'll compare both models for you. But as we head through Thursday, March 13th, you see these scattered showers here, even through Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, getting quite a bit in the way of shower activity. So each day you'll see these showers pop up, but as we get towards the middle part of March, you see a lot more green here, right around these north central islands, even the Lesser Antilles. So especially the afternoon, early evening hours, that's when you get those pop-up showers that will be just propagating. Now look at this. This was showing up on the GFS. This is going to be a massive cold front. I think this is going to make it pretty far into the Caribbean here. 17th, 18th. Look at this. Northern Honduras is getting tremendous rainfall. Yeah, I'm going to go over those rainfall amounts momentarily, but look at how far south and east this cold front makes it. This is March 19th. We're all the way clearing through Jamaica here and Haiti. Gets hung up across the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, but lots of heavy rain. This is probably our biggest rainfall surge here through the 2-week period. So our sea surface temperatures are just crazy. Look at this. The Western Atlantic into the Caribbean Gulf. We are running an average of about 1.5 to as much as 3.5 degrees above average here. So we are 90 days out from hurricane season. This is incredible. And let's look at your tropical moisture here across the Western and Central Caribbean, Central America here. Let's see. So taking it just through Tuesday, you can see just some splash and dash showers here across Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, back through Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico a little bit more. But all in all, this is not a whole lot. That's anywhere from 2.5 up to 10 millimeters here. Now, watch what happens as we stretch through later in the month here, the middle part of the month, and then we get towards the third week. Yeah, things do moisten up a little bit, but you have to admit, this is drier than it has been the last several months, with the exception, look at northern Honduras here. That's when you really start to increase the moisture. You're going to be getting up towards 100, 150 millimeters. It's going to get up to 3 to 4 inches. Here in Puerto Rico, yeah, you'll be approaching 100 millimeters in the central portion there. That's going to get you up towards 3.5, 4 inches. Dominican Republic, it looks like you're going to see through the next 2 weeks not too bad. You're going to see about 30, 40, maybe 50 millimeters of rainfall here. That's going to be spread out over several days. So, those splash and dash showers here. Northeastern Jamaica, right around 30 to 40 millimeters, but rest of the island, 15 millimeters or less. And as we stretch through the Eastern Caribbean here in the Western Atlantic, yeah, it's pretty dry through about right around the 12th, 13th. Then we start to see this frontal boundary move into parts of Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Island area. And then we start to see some tropical moisture surge across parts of the Central Western Antilles. So watch out. This takes us through the 21st. So let's take a look at your weather forecast here for Canada. Yeah, the West Coast getting hammered with those Pacific systems. But look at, most importantly here, the Canadian Maritimes as we head into Friday. Into Saturday, you're going to see continued heavy snow action here, 964 millibar low. That wind is going to be howling. New Brunswick, eastern Quebec, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland, all the way up here into the Canadian Maritimes, just blasting. Look at the West Coast, just continuing to blast. We got a little weak clipper here moving through Manitoba and Ontario here through the 9th into the 10th. And, you see these systems kind of just meandering their way across the U.S.-Canadian border with some snow shower action. That's going to continue to add up these snow totals. Here through the 12th and the 13th, you kind of see Canada looks pretty quiet with the exception of southwestern Canada here, British Columbia. But there you have it. You can see a very active weather pattern setting up around the middle of the month. Kind of strange that the rain-snow line is all the way up to the southern part of Hudson Bay here. That is very odd. So that should get some massive melting going on as we go out here in time. And then another coastal tries to kick up along the east coast of North America. Backside of it could be snow here. So all in all, you see these fast-moving systems, pieces of energy moving from the Pacific region eastward. And then a lot of big-time storms moving across U.S. here, bringing some heavy snow up into Ontario and Quebec region as we head through the third week of March. So for your Canadian snowfall here, what is going on for Canada? Well, both coasts here seeing a lot of snow, even much of Quebec, New Brunswick, Canadian Maritimes here. We had all the way through the 13th, 14th, 15th. Look at what's going on across Canada. Pretty much every province is going to share, quite a bit in the way of snow action here. Look at this. These darker purples are in excess of 30 to 40 centimeters, some locally higher to 50 centimeters. West Coast, those mountains obviously getting well up above 70 to 80 centimeters. But look at this. This is a very active weather pattern for Canada. And if we take a look at our temperatures here, yeah, this is where things are going to get a little interesting. So we're starting off with Friday, March 7th here. So we got a massive temperature disparity here, surging warmth across the southern plains into the 70s and well into the 80s here in Texas. And of course, here around the lakes in the Northeast, Ohio Valley, we got upper 30s and lower 40s. Now, as we progress through the weekend, watch what starts to happen here. Yeah, we have a pivot point of colder air across the Northeast. Saturday's your coldest day, upper 30s, lower 40s. But look at this warmth. Yeah, there's some big time warmth here across the Southeast. You can see that boundary. But look at what happens Sunday. We are going to see a massive surge of warmth, 70s all the way up to South Dakota. That is insane. And look at this into Ohio. Some areas could be approaching 60 by Sunday here. Look at into Monday. Look at this warmth. A massive warming trend ensuing with 60s well up into the southern Great Lakes and into the Northeast. Look at Tuesday, March 11th as well. We're getting well up into the mid to upper 60s across the Ohio Valley, into the Mid-Atlantic and parts of Northeast. Look at here into the southern Mid-Atlantic and Appalachians. We're well into the mid to high 70s, approaching 80 in some of these locations. And Wednesday, you kind of see there's a little bit of a cooling trend here, back down to the 50s here into parts of the lakes, Ohio Valley, Northeast, but this is still very warm, and you can see warmth building here across the plains. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, Binghamton, Scranton, Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. Friday is going to be a very windy day. We will make it up to the lower 40s. Those morning clouds, few snow showers, giving way to sunny skies into Saturday as well. We'll be a little cooler Saturday, but still above seasonal norms, mid to upper 30s into Sunday. Monday, look at this, into Tuesday. We start to approach the mid 60s by Tuesday. And before we continue with more weather coverage, check out these amazing, awesome maps from my affiliate here.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone. Share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.